Hello and welcome to this week's adult literacy video on fluency, brought to you by Hawaii Literacy. So what is fluency? Fluency is made up of four things: accuracy, rate, expression, and punctuation. Accuracy means reading the words correctly. It means, can you pronounce the words? Rate means reading not too fast and not too slow, so at just the right pace, a natural flow to speaking. Some readers will want to have a guide, such as a metronome, which gives them the rhythm that they can match to practice their reading speed. Others might find this stressful, but it is a strategy you can use when practicing rate. And finally, expression. Expression means reading with feeling. You don't want to sound like a robot. And lastly, punctuation, which means following most or all punctuation when you read. It means pausing at commas, stopping at periods, and just following the natural flow of the punctuation. So why do we need to practice or learn fluency? Because the more we can recognize words automatically, the more space in our heads we have for understanding or comprehension. Meaning, if at every word you find yourself pausing to sound it out, you might spend so much time decoding, you forget what you're reading. And what's the point in reading if you don't know what you're reading or understand it? Mastering fluency is the bridge between word recognition and comprehension. You can't understand what you can't read. So let's go into some strategies to improve and practice our fluency. We have guided reading, reading in a stress-free environment, practicing learning sight words, pre-teaching vocabulary, and practicing reading a variety of texts. So there are 4 different types of guided reading we'll be talking about today. 3 of them involve reading with another person or a group of people. And just like this image, reading together can be a lot more fun. The first is choral reading, then paired reading, then echo reading, and finally, tape-assisted reading. Choral reading, or reading together, is when you read the text at the same time as your partner. Paired reading is when you and your child or tutor or fellow adult alternate reading to each other. In other words, you read a sentence, they read the next sentence, or you read a paragraph, they read the following paragraph. Echo reading is when you read the same text following your teacher or your tutor. So the teacher or parent models the correct fluency and expression. It's like making copies. You just repeat after them the exact phrase they said. And finally, tape-assisted reading. You'll want to record yourself or your child or whoever's practicing fluency reading a text and have them listen to themselves and record again until they're satisfied with their delivery. As the parent or tutor or individual helping the learner read, you might want to listen to the recording yourself and take notes of areas where they could have paused more, where they were maybe reading too fast, or maybe different types of expression they needed to use. By helping your student out, you're helping them, encouraging them through repetitive reading, building accuracy, and it allows them to also get better at self-assessing themselves where they're struggling to read. So besides the different sort of tips and strategies you can use for modeling different types of reading to practice fluency, you also just want to make sure you have a stress-free environment. When you're enjoying a book, anxiety and stress want to be minimized because that allows you to actually understand what's going on in the book. It's also possible to foster a relaxing environment by maybe you want to remove any deadlines, take any pressure out of the reading, take any assessments out of it, and just focus on reading for the sake of reading. A good strategy is also to pre-teach vocabulary. You want to prime the words your child or your student's going to see in a text and practice reading them in isolation or phrases. You want to get the students familiar with the words and the vocabulary so Again, they're not spending too much time trying to understand what each word is when they're trying to read the story, but they already have some background knowledge. You also want to try drilling sight words. Sight words are the most common words in our reading and writing. They'll appear the most frequently. So by getting familiar with them, by using flashcards, it helps the reader build more sort of confidence with their reading, that they can automatically recognize words right away. And this ultimately builds fluency. You also want to make sure when working with your student that you're using a variety of books and materials. Because if a student has difficulty with reading, it can be more of a struggle to practice with material that is not of interest to them. So if you have a really creative artsy student, you don't want to maybe be reading about math or history or things that they might not find as interesting. So finding topics of books that they're interested in, whether it's an article, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, or it's a poem, just engaging them in different types of reading. You can also do chapter books and comics. Just want to work with as much engaging material as possible. And you also kind of want to experiment with different types of lengths of text, some shorter, some longer, because at the end of the day, the emphasis is on the student's engagement and interest in the reading, because that will help build their fluency and overall understanding. That's it for today's tips and strategies. Please stay tuned for next week's video, and don't forget to follow us on all our social medias at Hawaii Literacy. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.